Hello and welcome to this week's video lecture. Today we're going to talk about marketing research, chapter 10. Although marketing research is not one of my favorite subjects and it's not something that I'm inclined to do. Generally speaking, most of the people that we see going into marketing go into marketing because they want to be in front of customers and they want to be part of the customer relationship and they want to drive revenue through customers and talking with customers and developing new markets and developing new products, etc. Marketing research is for some people. Marketing research is a lot of data analytics. It's using a lot of the data that's out there to manipulate it in a meaningful way. And oftentimes marketing research people, the ones that are really good at marketing research, can really give good insights as to what products, what pricing, what promotional pieces will work, and those types of things through marketing research. So this chapter, it's a short chapter. It's only about 13 slides, but this chapter is going to talk all about marketing research. We're going to give you just kind of an overview of marketing research. I know that in many colleges, at Fisher and at other four-year institutions, they have a full semester class on marketing research, and we have one here at St. John Fisher. So I think that really what we're trying to do here today is not necessarily make you an expert on marketing research, but just kind of define some terms, define some reasons for marketing research, and define some things that are good and for marketing research. So really the process starts with defining the objective. What do you want to know? Do you want to know what price? Do you want to know what new products to come out with? Do you want to know what new target markets to reach? Do you want to know what type of segments are the most viable segments for your product? So really the first thing you've got to understand is, what are you trying to need? What do you need? What are your research needs? What are the research questions that you're trying to find out or figure out? From there, you design the research. You determine what type of research. Are you going to do primary research or secondary research? Primary research is research right from the horse's mouth. Secondary research is research that's already been done. You can find it on Google, or you can find it in libraries or on databases out there. Then once you determine whether you're going to do primary or secondary research, then you determine the data collection process. How are you going to collect data? What are you going to do to try to understand and get the data? Is it going to be surveys? Are you going to run a survey through social media? Are you going to stand in the middle of the mall and ask people as they go by, which, by the way, I hate? Are you going to have focus groups? What are you going to do to collect the data? And then once you collect the data, you need to understand how you're going to manipulate it. What type of statistical software are you going to use? And then finally, the one that you can't see because I'm blocking, it says action plan and implementation. Once you understand and you analyze the data and you develop your insights, that way you form an action plan and a strategy. And from that action plan and that strategy, you would determine what you're going to do next. So defining the objectives is, you need really to understand what information you need to answer the research question, and then how should that information be obtained. Those are the first things you need to do. The key thing, though, in any marketing research or anything that you're doing with marketing research, is the first thing you need to understand is what I want to find out. What is it that I need to understand? Because once you understand that, that will determine the rest of the process. Designing the research, you need to understand what type of data do you want. Do you want attribute or do you want variables data? Attribute data is yes, no data, true, false, blue, green, red. Variables data is just that. It's variables. It's a variable. It could be 3.1 or 4.2, etc. It's not an either is or is not. For instance, temperature is variables data because it could be 32 degrees, could be 33 degrees, could be 60 degrees. But whether it's freezing or not is attribute data because it's either freezing or it's not. So time is variables data because it could be 12:01, 12:02, 12:03, and 30 seconds. and then a color is attribute data. So you need to understand the type of data. Then you need to understand the type of research you're going to do. Are you going to collect it through a online survey? You're going to collect it through a face-to-face survey? Are you going to collect it through focus groups? Obviously, the best way to collect it is to interview people, but that takes a lot of time, and you've got to find the people to interview. So again, we talked about secondary and primary research. Secondary research is research that's already been done. It's research that is already out there. It's in a database someplace. Whenever you look at Google and you type something into Google and you ask Google a question, that's secondary research. Primary research is face-to-face. It's directly from the horse's mouth. From the horse's mouth. So primary research is asking people questions, it's surveys, it's those types of things, whereas secondary research is research that's already been collected. Then you got to convert the data into something that will explain. You've got to convert it into something that's meaningful. Here's where data analytics comes into place, a lot of statistical analysis, a lot of data analytics. Usually you use software like SPSS, or you could use software like Minitab, or some type of Excel software in order to take the data, the raw data that you got from primary and secondary research, and develop accurate data to provide insights into what you're trying to do for a marketing plan. So that data could be determining what product you're going to offer. The data could be determining what price you're going to offer, or what market segment is the best for your product. Those types of things are what you're going to need to find out with the data that you've gathered, either primary or secondary data. Then finally, once you get the data and it's manipulated and it's telling you something, and again, the key thing about research, marketing research, is the data has to tell you something. Just getting data for data's sake does not work. You've got to have data that tells you something. So getting data that tells you something, then you've got to develop an action plan. The action plan, generally speaking, is either a report or a presentation, or both. You can do a report and have a document done and provide that document to your boss. But most of the time these days in business, the report is a presentation. And these are, generally speaking, what's accepted and what's usually done in those presentations. The first one is an executive summary. You're going to tell people, this is what I'm going to tell you. Today's talk or today's presentation is about this. Then you have the body of your report or the body of your presentation. Tell them what you're going to tell them. And then you finally conclude what your findings are. Then in the report, oftentimes you have limitations. These are some of the limitations. These are what we can do. These are what we can't do. Given the data, we know that this is the best product to come out with. However, we're limited in manufacturability or something like that. And then finally, any type of supplements, including tables, figures, data, graphs, charts, etc. And that's what you can't see because I'm blocking it right now, but that would be supplements. So again, you're either going to do a report or a presentation, and the presentation really consists of these types of things. External secondary data. External secondary data is secondary research that helps with your primary research. That could be either syndicated data or data that's already been out there. It could be scanner data, like a scanner data would be when you use your Wegmans card. At Wegmans, the Wegmans Shopper Club, they're scanning in information on you. That would be scanner research data or panel research data. People that have done panels in the past and that data has been recorded. Those are all examples of secondary external data. Internal secondary data consists of data that you already have in your data warehouse. It could be like Wegmans. They have a tremendous amount of data that they've captured because of Shoppers Club or something else. So your data warehouse is part of your internal secondary data. and also data mining, getting and calling up the data from years past. And it could be sales figures. It could be what's happened in the past. It could be what's been successful in the past. It could be past products, past product launches. All those types of things is what we call data mining from the data warehouse. So there's two different types of research. There's qualitative research and there's quantitative research. Qualitative research is observations. It's asking people's opinions. It's in-depth interviews. It's focus groups. It's social media. It's those types of things. Qualitative research is more opinion-based. It's what do you think? How many would you buy? Quantitative research is experiments. It's hard data. It's scanner data. It's panel data. It's survey data. Generally speaking, quantitative data has numbers associated with it. It's not opinions. It's hard facts. It's number of people. It's number of times someone did something, etc. Those are quantitative research figures, and qualitative research is more of opinions. So advantages and disadvantages of primary and secondary data. I'm not going to go over this. You obviously can read the slide yourself. Secondary research, I've given you some examples there, some advantages and disadvantages, as well as primary research. I've given you some examples there, some advantages and some disadvantages. Please make sure you take a look at this and pause the video and make sure you look at this, because this truly makes very, very good test questions. Ethics of using customer information. There is strong ethics regarding that. And most of the ethical concerns center around privacy and not invading somebody's privacy. Oftentimes, when you conduct survey or have survey research, you've got to make sure that you destroy the data afterwards, and you've got to make sure that the data is anonymous. People don't like to have their data spread out. You've got to adhere to ethical practices. You've got to make sure that the people that you're surveying or interviewing, or the people that are part of your experiments, understand the risk to your experiments, understand any dangers if there is any experiments. They have to understand the risk of the survey questions or any dangers or any backlash to the survey questions. And all that needs to be done up front. That is mostly the ethical considerations. I know here at St. John Fisher, when we do research, we've got to make sure that we get institutional review board approval, and we've got to make sure that we have our ducks in a row with regards to what we're going to do with the data, how we're going to destroy the data, how we're going to protect anonymity of those people that we are researching, and how we're going to protect the privacy of those people. So that's going to conclude. This is the glossary. Coming after the glossary is going to be your discussion questions. Please, as usual, answer the discussion questions. Turn them in to me on Monday. Make sure that you do understand this glossary. Again, these make very good test questions too. And so the next slide, again, is going to be your discussion questions. And as promised, here is your discussion questions. Again, please turn them in to me when we see each other on Monday. And until then, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. See you all Monday.